Hello, hello. My name is Seychelle Van Poel, and I get to be your host today for our amazing Homebuyer Workshop. And I'm so excited to be here with you today. And so to make sure I am using all of our time as efficient as possible, I am going to get us started. It's just after 12 o'clock today. So let's go ahead and jump on in. Thank you for joining us for our Homebuyer Workshop. And we're really excited that you're here. And this is useful information whether you have purchased a home or never purchased a home or are looking to invest. There's a lot that's changed in our market over the last several months, and we want to make sure that you're up to date. A little bit about us. My name is Seychelle Van Poel, and I get to lead this amazing team of real estate agents and real estate brokers here with Van Poel Properties. We're affiliated with Keller Williams. And not only are we realtors and real estate brokers, many of us are here, many of us also are real estate investors. And so we look at the market both from somebody buying, renting, or selling a home, but we also look at it as your purchase or your home sale as an investment for us as well, and we treat it that way. We are in the top 1% of real estate agents nationwide and also the top 1% of real estate agents in Texas. We've been voted best in D Magazine since 2006, where we've proudly served here in Texas over 2,500 families. And this is our amazing team of seasoned professionals that are here to help you. And I'll walk you through some of their roles here in a little bit, but some, like Lisa and Marie on our team, we've had the pleasure of working with for 20 and 30 years. And some of them as new as most recently. So we're really excited to get to be able to help you today. Now, what's been interesting is in 2020, we've had to completely reinvent the way real estate is done. And by having the opportunity to serve over 2,500 families, and real estate, what that allows us to do is that allows us to look at the process of real estate over and over and over again in a very short time span. And the reason why I bring that up is because the average real estate agent in the United States sells on average 7 homes a year. And I don't know about you, but if you went to work 7 times a year or you drove your car 7 times a year, you may not notice all of the different things that occur with it. You might not know when the oil was last changed, or is there gas in the car, or do the tires have air? Well, when real estate agents only sell a few homes a year, that same sort of thing occurs in the real estate market. And so because we sell several hundred homes a year, almost one a day, we're seeing the trends, right? Or to put it in car terminology, right? The oil changes, the air in the tires, the gas in the tank. We're seeing what needs to be tweaked and changed really quickly and also really efficiently. And it allows us to take what's happening in the market and adopt it very quickly for success for our clients. And our goal is to provide a very high integrity experience for you that you are so happy with it, you want to refer your friends and your family to us and write rave reviews about the experience that you had with our team. Now, how our team works is a little bit different than a lot of real estate experiences. Early on in our careers, we realized that when I go to my doctor's office, I have somebody that helps check me in, that's an expert with scheduling and making sure that all the doctors are lined out with their schedules. I probably have a nurse or a nurse practitioner that is taking my vitals, asking me my initial questions, talking to me about why I'm coming in today. I may have a lab specialist that's taking my blood or any samples that need to be sent off to the lab. I have a doctor, right, that's going to come in and give the consultation after they've taken in all of the notes that have been taken by their team. And then oftentimes on the way out the door, I have a billing or an insurance specialist that's taking a look at what needs to happen from the insurance perspective as we're coming out. And so we kind of looked at that and said, you know, in a real estate experience, there's about 120 steps that have to occur that need to create an amazing, successful experience for a client. The odds are that no one person is going to be amazing at all 120 of those steps. And so we set out almost 20 years ago to really create an experience and a team of experts that really specialize, just like a high experienced doctor's office or law office, right? We want you to have that same level of experience where you have a specialist every step of the way. And that's why for the same cost, right, or the same, experience that you would get as a buyer with one agent, you actually get access to all of these other specialists helping you. So that's no different for you on the expense side as anybody else. Now, I'm going to leave this information up for just 1 second, and that is if you have questions during today's webinar, or you want to have maybe a more individualized consultation, this is our phone number and our best email. You are welcome to reach out to us or raise your hand during the seminar today, and we'll be happy to schedule a time where we can really go over your individual needs and your individual goals to make sure that we're setting that up. Now, what we want you to expect from us when we're looking at buying, right, is we want to find the best home for you at the best possible price. We want to help give you local expert advice. We want to give you outstanding service and a more efficient, hassle-free home buying experience. Now, it's really interesting. I find this is a common misconception, but these are some of the things that we can help you with on the real estate side, right? We can help you with existing homes at any price point. We can help you with new construction and builder spec homes. A lot of people don't know that. We actually know where their hidden budgets are for each of the builders. It's a little different. And when builders are paying real estate commissions to the realtor, it actually comes out of a separate budget than it does off the price for you. So, when you're talking to a builder rep, their job is to protect the builder's bottom dollar and their bottom line. But when we represent you, the builder actually pays our commissions. I would say 99.9% of the time. And we're there to protect you as the buyer, to advocate for you, and to help not only negotiate a great deal, but also to help be there to advocate for you if something should go wrong during the building process, which we have definitely had every single year that we've been in business for at least 1 or 2 clients. So we're there to help you. We can help with luxury and custom built homes, townhomes, condos, and high rises. Relocation, we actually deal with a lot of relocation, especially in Austin and North Texas. We can help you with farms, land, ranches, horse properties. We actually work with for sale by owners and also scour to find homes that aren't even on the market yet. We also work with foreclosures and short sales, investment properties and rentals, and multifamily and rehab properties. The only thing our team doesn't touch all that much is commercial property. And if you're looking for commercial property, we actually have an arsenal of experts that are ready to help and specialize in that field. And wherever you go, we can help you or get you to the best person. We serve North Texas and Austin, and anywhere in the world that you go, chances are we know the top 1% of that area that's in real estate to help make sure it's an amazing experience. So if you're ever leaving town and you're needing some help with real estate, make sure you let us know and we'll connect you up personally with an amazing team. Now, let's take a look at the home buying process and let's walk through that together to go over how this process works. Well, any professional real estate agent should do something first. The first thing they should do is they should either on Zoom video or in person or on the phone, go over with you the home buying process and go over your criteria and what happens during the home buying process. I don't like surprises, so I assume you probably don't like them either. And that is if we sit down and spend 20 to 30 minutes up front walking through how real estate is happening right now, what changes have occurred in the market, and really walk through getting to know what you really want to accomplish, then that should save you anywhere from 20 to 30 hours on the back end of wasted time, either walking through properties that don't meet your criteria or looking at homes you may not want to afford because you didn't set the proper budget up at the beginning. So we're going to go over that. We also have a loyalty agreement. And many people don't know in the state of Texas, actually, if we don't represent you as the buyer or some realtor doesn't represent you as the buyer, the state of Texas actually states that the listing agent represents the seller. And if you, the buyer, go and work with them, they are not obligated to share all of the information about the property to you. They represent the seller and the seller's best interest. And even if you think you're getting money off the price because of the real estate commissions, trying to negotiate that off the price, actually up to the listing agent, not the seller, as to whether or not you get access to that commission. And even then, somebody doesn't necessarily represent your best interest. The only way that a buyer's agent gets paid or that money comes out of those commissions is if a buyer representative or a real estate agent is representing the buyer. So it actually doesn't cost you anything to have representation. It's a benefit. Now, We're also going to go over the market breakdown today. I think it's really important that we go over what's happening in the real estate market. We're going to talk about what's changed in financing and pre-approval. And during your consultation, your real estate agent will also walk you through that. We're going to talk about how we have, for a couple of years now, had a really tech-savvy home buying process that's incredible. We've used it now for 3 or 4 years, but the rest of the world is now catching up to us, which is really exciting. So we can talk about how we can make the home buying process safe and hassle-free and easy for you and save you a bunch of time and a lot of money. And then we're going to help write your offer. And we'll coach you through that, right? We'll coach you through what needs to go into making a clean offer to help get you the best value. We'll help you with the offer negotiation and acceptance. We'll help line up and introduce you to great home inspectors that have really strong track records. We'll then help secure insurance with you and appraisals, the home selection of the home warranty, and setting up your utilities. We have a utility concierge that will actually help even get your utility set up for you. And then we're going to do the 120 steps behind the scenes to help make sure that you are prepared for closing with our licensed closing team. Now, you'll see our contact information here a couple of times, and we put that in just in case you missed it the first time. Now, when we look at understanding the market, there's a tale of two markets that are typically occurring in any real estate market. And that is, we have a buyer's market or a seller's market. And oftentimes at different price points in the markets, you have different experiences going on. A buyer's market means that we have more homes available than we have buyers looking, right? And a seller's market means there's low inventory, fewer homes on the market, and more buyers looking to purchase than we have homes for them to choose from. And we're going to walk through, and I'll talk to you a little bit about which parts of the market we have going on in North Texas here, right? And when we're determining value, a home is not worth what your friend paid for their house. It's not worth what your family paid in 2009. Or shoot, I had the other day someone tell me 1989. It's not worth what Zillow says it's worth. We're a non-disclosure state, so Zillow actually doesn't get access to home sale prices. They only get access to home list prices. So if you're going off of Zillow values, it actually is incredibly inaccurate here in Texas. Unfortunately, a home is not worth what you want, or even what the tax records say it's worth, because the tax records are subjective and depend on if a home seller is fighting their taxes every year. It's not worth what you hope the sellers will take either, although sometimes it is nice to think that way. But what are factors of true value are what a buyer is willing to pay for the property, right? What the competing buyers are willing to pay for the property. We had a home this last weekend that had 26 offers come in on it, right? So that might mean that the value is going to be whatever the highest of those 26 is going to be. It's worth what today's market dictates it's worth in today's competition, what today's financing allows in today's economy. You'll notice you might want to write this down. This is a neat statistic, but typically the real estate market follows two key factors. The two key factors we follow 6 months behind are, number one, the job market. So if unemployment is rising, we have to watch what's happening with housing, because it typically will follow 6 months behind that. And you also have to pay attention with unemployment of what sector of the job market is facing unemployment. If we have a lot of the service industry, which typically is more 1099 and hourly wage, unable to have jobs, that may mean fewer of that industry are able to qualify for homes as easily. If you have, let's say, back in 2004, 5, and 6, we had a lot of our financial institutions, a lot of our headquarters closing or laying off people in droves. And so that was a lot of W-2 employees that were losing their employment. So we're watching that really heavily. Is it 1099 or is it W-2 that may be losing their employment, because that will help dictate to us where the market's going to go. The other factor you want to watch is interest rates. The lower interest rates are, the stronger the housing market is. Well, I don't know if you're paying attention to what interest rates are doing these days, but there's a website that's called bankrate.com, bankrate.com. And bankrate.com will show you kind of what the market's interest rates are today. And when you watch that, we are at unprecedented all-time low interest rates right now. We've never in our lifetime seen them this low. And I guarantee you in my parents' lifetime, they've never seen them this low. And so if interest rates start going back up drastically, right, into the 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s, and 9% as far as loans go, Well, that's going to change our housing market. What we're seeing right now, though, is the Fed and mortgage lenders are still artificially keeping rates low, which means that they're trying to continue to stimulate the purchasing economy. And it also means you have a lot more buying power as a purchaser, right? A couple of other things that factor into the home value are the perception of location, right? A home that backs to a major road might sell for less dollar per square foot than a home that's more internal into the neighborhood, or a home that backs to power lines versus one that doesn't. So that makes a big difference. And also the actual location. Sometimes a buyer perceives location to be one thing, but the actual location may be different. And the last one is the number of days it takes to sell in that neighborhood. Now, this is something that I have been watching since 2015, but I think this is really interesting. So there are a couple of numbers that we have been watching daily in the North Texas real estate market. And one of those numbers is homes that have gone under contract. The reason why we're watching homes that have gone under contract are that tells us what the buyer confidence in the market is saying or doing, right? How many buyers are actually willing to write offers on homes right now? So it tells us a lot about what buyers are willing to do. And I'll tell you why we're not looking at sold data as much as we're looking at under contract data. Sold data typically takes, a sold home typically takes 30 to 45 days to close out. So I put a home under contract and my lender is going to have to do all my loan paperwork and the appraisal and the inspection and all these other things to make sure that my house is closing. Well, that can take 30 to 45 days right now. So when a home closes out in MLS, the sold price tells me what a buyer was willing to put under contract 30 to 45 days ago. But what it doesn't tell me is what a buyer is willing to do right now. And so when we watch the under contract data each week, this under contract data tells us what are buyers actually doing today or this week to put homes under contract. Are they putting more homes under contract or are they putting less? Now, if you look at this chart, the red line, as you see, is 2020 and the gray line is 2019. So when we take a look at this, when we went into shelter in place here in North Texas, March and April represented a 24% dip in the number of contracts that were written here in North Texas. And part of that is real estate was listed as non-essential in Dallas and Tarrant County for almost 4 weeks. So the amount of homes that could be shown were not there. We had sellers kind of go, oh, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm going to wait to put my home on the market. Let's watch the stock market. Let's watch the job market. And so we had a lot of people just kind of put their hands up for a little bit and go, whoa, what's going to happen? Well, then we had, several weeks now where people have been having lifestyle changes. We don't know what's going to happen with schools coming up. We have seen people decide that they need a home office space, or maybe they have a baby on the way and they need more room, or maybe they've been together and they decided they don't need to be together anymore and there's a divorce that's occurring. And so we're seeing all sorts of lifestyle changes that are occurring that are causing people to want to change their housing situation. And where you can see that in the buyer confidence is if you watch this red line skyrocket from the end of April to May and June, the number of contracts that were written year over year is 128% more since May 1st than compared to 2019. So buyer confidence is incredibly strong here in North Texas. What we're also seeing is that the lagging measure is the number of homes sold is up as well 4% year over year, and that's the lagging number that's 30 to 45 days behind our actual under contract data. So I anticipate we'll see that rise again. Now in North Texas, this is very interesting. So here are the number of new homes that are going on the market. The number of new homes that are going on the market are representative of are sellers willing to put their home on the market? Are they willing to go out there and put their home on the market? So what you can see, right, is that as we discussed in March and April, there was a dip, right? It was 27% dip in the number of homes that went on the market. If you go back and look at the the under contract numbers, we were down 24%. So pretty close, neck and neck. And now what we're seeing is the number of new home sellers are following in line with what's going on in the real estate market. May is typically a big month for real estate with new listings here in North Texas. And we're seeing that that's the case. We're seeing that listings rose and we're only running behind 2019 as far as the new number of homes going on the market by 4.3%. Now, what I will tell you is there's an interesting market occurring. And the lower end, we're having to be incredibly creative and collaborative with how we are going after helping our clients get their houses. Excuse me, I have air in the wrong pipe. Pardon me. So we're having to be incredibly collaborative and creative with how we are getting our buyers their properties. There are a lot more home buyers that are willing to purchase than maybe there are home sellers at the time. And that I wouldn't say that that's a reason to not purchase, because interest rates are so incredibly low. But I will tell you that it really, the real estate agents we're working with matters more than ever, especially when it comes to the listing and the seller side and the buyer side, because the negotiation is so much tougher. We are having to build so much more rapport, fight so much harder for our clients than we were 6 months ago, that it really makes a difference with who you have representing you. And also the tactics we're deploying to help get you offers and or get you the home that you want. And so we have a home shortage under the 500,000 mark. That means we're scouring for homes off market. And one of the benefits you get when you work with us is we are part of the largest brokerage network here in North Texas. So we're allowed to share our listings off market more than anybody else is, because we have a much larger pool of agents to look and scour for off market homes. May 1st became a change in the way the MLS rules happen. And the MLS is what the multiple listing service. MLS is where we put our homes on the market to send to real estate agents, which eventually then goes out to the consumer. And the MLS basically said that we cannot market our homes that are coming up for sale any more than 24 business hours prior to hitting the market. It used to be we could put it as a coming soon 5, 10, 15, 30 days before it ever hit the market and pre-market it ahead of time. Well, now we can't do that unless it's inside of our own brokerage more than 24 hours. And that means that the size of the brokerage that you work with matters greatly, because that's a much bigger pool for us to go fishing in versus somebody that may be a part of a very tiny small boutique brokerage. Now, in the luxury market, I do want you to notice with the slide, we do have a surplus in that market, and we're seeing a lot more aggressive buyer offers during that time. So if you're considering moving up, this is a really good time to take advantage of that, not only because the interest rates are, the lowest we've ever seen, so your buying power goes farther for the same amount of mortgage payment, but it also means that you can be more aggressive with your negotiation than you could, let's say 4 months ago, which is kind of exciting if you're moving up. Now, when we look at search criteria, it's important that we're going to ask you some questions that are really important. So here are some of the must-haves that I want you to consider and think about, because these are the questions that we're going to be asking you. One question we're going to ask is price range, right? Not just where do you want to be because you've done some Googling around mortgage interest, payments, but we actually want to know, like, how much are you comfortable putting down on a home? And ideally, what monthly payment are you trying to stay within? And we're going to connect you with one of our 3 professional lenders to evaluate what makes sense for you. And so the worst thing that we could do is either send you homes you don't want to afford or that you can't afford, right? Because once you've seen something at this level and then all of a sudden you have to bring it down to a lower level, everything does not look as good. So trust me, I know, because we've bought many properties ourselves. And when all of a sudden you get the taste of something at a higher end and then you decide you may not want to purchase at that price, everything looks a little bit more dingy on the other side. So let's start by showing you what makes sense in your budget. Location makes a big difference, right? We were talking about why people are moving. Price point makes a huge difference right now. And location. A lot of people are now able to work from home where they weren't allowed to do that, 4 or 6 months ago. And so do you need to be close to where you're going to work? Do you want to be closer to family and where your circle is, or friends? Is it less important to be right in the middle of your school district, or can you be a little bit farther out because you're considering distance learning the next year, right? What are some of the things that maybe you can reconsider location-wise that you might not have thought about before? And what sort of a lifestyle are you going to live? Do you need a home office or a workout room? Do you need maybe a playroom where if you have children, they can go and just go nuts in there and you can close the door and not have to worry about it? Having a 6-year-old myself, I can tell you I think about that. We also hear a lot about people talking about, I wish I had a pool, or I wish I had more yard, or I wish I had somewhere with more of a fence so I don't have to worry about people or dogs running into the street. So start making a list of some of those things that might be needs of yours more lifestyle-wise than you've had in the past. And then start thinking about minimum bedrooms and bathrooms, right? What size or layout are you hoping to find? And are there any neighborhood features that might be ideal for you? Whether it's walking distance to trails or large trees, or as one client told us last week, no trees. So what are the things that really set off a home or a neighborhood for you that might make a difference? And then we always like to know, right, what past experiences have you had that you either like or don't like about where you live or have lived in the past? And what are some deal breakers for you? What would keep you from buying a property? Now, this is something that I am so excited the rest of the world has come to join us on, because last year, pre-COVID, 25% of our home buyers actually bought their home over FaceTime and video. And I can actually tell you right now, personally, my husband and I are buying a lake house up in northern Michigan to be closer to his family. We're under contract, closing next month, and we physically have not walked the property. We have virtually seen it as well. So I can tell you, even personally, we're experiencing using this method. But it is amazing what technology can do now to show you a property without having to step foot in it first. And so it maximizes your time, because either we or the listing agent or the seller can take video of a property for you and send it to you, and we can go through your favorites via video first, and then take you out to see your favorites. Or if you happen to have an immunodeficiency or some reason that you're a higher risk, we don't even have to walk into the property until you're under contract. And at that point, you're maybe only putting a couple of $100 at risk, instead of risking, if you have immune issues, risking that. So those are definitely things that we can do to help make sure we're making this a tech savvy and safe search process for you. Now, our consultative approach also helps to take the best homes and send you those, instead of sending you 46 homes that might meet your criteria. Our job is to take the 46 and take all the criteria that you've given us and narrow down to the best 3 to 10 homes that could possibly meet what you want. And then let's go take a look at those first. And if we're finding that those 3 to 10 houses are not meeting your needs, well, one of two things has happened. Either we need to consider a different criteria or price point, or we're not on the same page with what you're wanting and what we're seeing out there in the market. So we'll revisit, if we're not seeing what you're loving in those first 3 to 10 houses, we're gonna revisit, make sure that we're on the same page to make sure that the market is bringing you what you're wanting to purchase. And then the other thing we get to do, which I love, is when you work with us, we give you direct access into the MLS instead of having to go through a third-party site that can take 24 to 72 hours to get a home on the market and show you that it's available. You get access right up to, I think it's every 3 minutes, into our MLS. So that's a really nice feature, because I can tell you Zillow and Realtor.com and Redfin and a lot of those sites don't update as often. And so you're finding out about a home 24 to 48 hours after it's already hit the market. And we find many times our team has already got the buyer under contract on the home before a lot of buyers even realize that it's hit the market. So that's a huge benefit. Now, I will tell you, this has become a lot more important when we're talking with sellers and we're looking at houses. We're hearing this feedback a lot. So this is something that if you haven't purchased in the last 4 months, this is new for you. And I want you to take a look at what this incurs. So showing etiquette. We are a guest in somebody else's property, and we don't know what their personal situation is like as far as what their family has going on or why they're needing to sell their home. And so when viewing a property, it's really important that we follow proper safety precautions and wear proper PPE. And it's personal protective equipment. And it's not necessarily because we're trying to, be annoying or be a pain, but I will tell you, there are a lot of sellers that feel very passionate about when they allow people into their home. They want to know that there's respect from the buyers coming through, that they're doing everything they can to be safe and hygienic and clean and not touch as many things as possible. So some of the things that we're having requested are, number one, wearing face masks, covering the nose all the way to the chin. And we have some Vanpool branded ones. If you don't have any, we're happy to give you one of ours that you can have and use. Number two is sometimes they will ask you to wear gloves or hand sanitizer before walking in the home and sanitize again coming out. They're going to ask that you not touch counters, open up drawers, touch doorknobs. Let your agent do that for you. Most likely your agent that you're working with on our team is going to be wearing gloves. And that's because we want to make sure that we are respecting the sellers. And then if a seller requests sometimes we're being asked to put booties on and remove our shoes. And, you know, in the day and age when there are cameras and audio recording equipment, we need to be aware that if somebody's asking for that, whether it's your personal belief that that needs to be done or not, we have to respect that we are a guest in somebody else's home and take heed in that. So that is something we take seriously, just the same as if that was important to you and you seller, we would work really hard to make sure that those protocols are followed for you as well. So the other nice thing though is if you don't want to have to go into the home first, we can get video for you and you can see how all of the property lays out, the street view, the backyard, the whole bit before ever having to walk in the home. So I highly would encourage you to consider that option if that's something that you're interested in taking advantage of, because that's a special perk that we get to give our clients. Now, when it comes to writing an offer, and we're going to go through this when we sit down in the consultation with you as well, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it today. There's a lot of things that go into writing an offer, and depending on if we're in a multiple offer situation or a non-multiple offer situation, will determine these 10 different factors that how we'll negotiate it to make sure that we're putting your best foot forward in as strong of a way, but also giving as much negotiation position as we possibly can. Right? And when you're writing an offer, we want to make sure yours is the one that stands out. Part of how we do that are some things that you can do as well, whether it's taking a picture of you and your dog or your family and writing a letter about things that we might have noticed in the home and found really neat, and relating to them. We've even had it before where we found out that a seller had a charity that they were involved in and we knew there were multiple offers going on. And so we offered as a part of our offer to donate to that seller's personal charity that they were passionate about in order to help them. So there's all sorts of little tricks that we use to help make sure that we're assisting you to help make sure that we're doing everything that we can to give you the leg up for the best negotiation position. Then there's other things like, these are all real estate technical terms, but we could waive appraisals or put down double earnest money, pay for title policy. There's lots of little tricks that we use and nuances to clean an offer up to put your best foot forward in a multiple offer situation. And we'll make sure that we find out the motivation of that seller, how the other agent's working, and what your level of comfort is, because we're never going to push you outside of your comfort zone, to make sure that we're helping to get that property if we are in a multiple offer situation. Now, once you're executed on the home, which means everybody is signed off, our work doesn't stop, right? Once we're under contract, that's where the next 50% of the work goes for us. So it's not just about finding the right home, it's making sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed and all the 120 steps behind the scenes are occurring to make the process as smooth as possible. Now, there's something I want to tell you that's really important, which is we want to eliminate as many surprises as possible. But in all honesty, real estate deals with homes that are living, breathing objects. There are times that there are surprises that occur that none of us could have anticipated. Whether it's the loss of a job for a client or a pipe that bursts the day after closing that was working perfectly 2 days before. And so what we commit to you is we promise that we're going to be there with you every step of the way. We promise that we're going to be honest with you and make sure that we're in lockstep, hand in hand with you through the process to work through what your options are and what the next best steps are. And we promise that if something happens and there's a surprise that occurs, that we're going to work through it together. Now, what we ask you in return is that when we hold up that end of our bargain on the promise, that you promise that you're going to be open and honest with us if there's ever anything going on that feels weird or uncomfortable for you or something you weren't expecting, so that we have the opportunity to help you work through it. And the other promise that we ask is when we're doing a great job for you, the best way you can let us know we're doing a good job is by either writing a rave review online for us or sending us a referral of your friends or family members that might be looking to purchase or sell a home as well. So that's how we know that we're doing well, is when we see reviews coming in or referrals coming in, we know that's the best report card we can get. Now, once you're under contract, we're going to connect you with a lot of our preferred vendors to help you, whether it's having the insurance company pull a clue report, which tells us any little insurance claims that have happened in the last 3 to 5 years that we may not have been told about otherwise, or expert home inspectors, or appraisers, or our complimentary utility concierge to help you get your utility set up. We're going to be there with you every step of the way. Now, this one is worth going over for a couple minutes. This is the no-no list. And this is for you as a buyer to take a look at And make sure you remember these are the things that we should not be doing, but that by the time you get your pre-approval from your lender and get out there and start looking at properties to the time you close on a property. Number one, please don't quit your job the day of closing. We have had that happen. And he walked in so excited he had just quit his job. Don't quit until after your closing. Don't move jobs. Just try to stay as consistent as you possibly can, okay? Don't buy major purchases. This includes furniture, buying cars. This also includes like major purchases like appliances that might show up on your credit report as a major expense. You could do this after the fact, and that would be great. Do it after the fact. Other things, don't fall behind on credit card payments or payments of any kind, or make a lot of credit inquiries. Don't omit debt you might have. A lender's gonna find it. So if you have liabilities or debt out there, don't think by not putting it on there, it's not gonna be found. The credit bureaus will find it and they will report on it. So just be honest up front if there's anything out there, because then we can work through it. Now, making large deposits without contacting your lender sounds silly, but they force it. For the $10,000 gift amount, the lender has to go back and source where that cash came from if they don't have a track record for it. So if you're taking big deposits, double check with your lender before that happens so that they can keep an eye on it for you, okay? This one is also counterintuitive. Don't pay off large amounts of debt prior to closing if you haven't already cleared that with your lender. We had that happen a couple weeks ago where a buyer paid off all their credit cards. What it actually did was it changed their debt to income because they got rid of all their cash and put it towards all their debt, and they'd already been approved with the way they were, and it actually messed up some of their lending opportunities. So just don't make any major financial changes without checking with your lender. Don't co-sign on another loan, whether it's a personal loan or a business loan. Don't co-sign on something without checking with your lender. Don't spend money intended for your closing costs because you're gonna need it at closing, and don't change your bank accounts. So those are some of the things that are on the no-no list, which means don't do these until after you've already closed and funded on your new home. Now, something that I am so thankful for, this is from one of our past clients. We've had the privilege of working with a couple of times, but they love that we found their first home on the very first day they went out, which means we were listening, right? Don't be surprised if we're listening really well and we go out and take a look at properties that we are gonna find the property that you love the first time out. That happens all the time. Sometimes we do such a good job, it's the first home you see. So don't be alarmed if that's the case. That means we're really listening and doing our best to narrow out the things that don't match your criteria, right? And that means that we listen to their needs. We've helped them in so many ways, recommending contractors, lenders, painters, anything like that that you need, we can help. And we really want to educate you during the home buying process so that you can make an educated decision for you. Now, I'm going to open it up for questions here, and I'm going to bring up our screen here. We've got a couple questions from the audience. So I'm going to bring up a couple of these right now. We're going to answer these on the fly. If you have, please feel free to let us know. We'll be happy to get that for you too. So one question, this is a great one. John asks, are closings being delayed? Great question, John. You know what's interesting is, so depending on the lender that you work with, it makes a big difference. We're finding some of the national lenders like JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, some of the bigger banks, because they deal with millions of home loans. Quicken is also one of these. What we're finding is that the process for which they're going through could take a lot longer than somebody who maybe is a local lender working with some team that they've worked with for a long time, meaning their reputation's on the line. And what we're finding is even employees of those banks that are using them for their employee loans, we've had, 30 days ago, we had a JP Morgan Chase loan that ran almost 30 days late and almost cost the buyer their house and a lot of earnest money, $15,000 in earnest money, because their lender wasn't performing. So your lender makes a big difference, number one. Number two, are closings being delayed? If you're working with a good, strong, reputable lender, and we're happy to either help recommend or vet. The only reason why we're seeing big delays right now is either if it's new construction and the builder's running behind, or a big factor is if the appraiser can't get out to the property in time. Now, if you'll remember back a few slides, we looked at there's a 27% increase year over year in the number of contracts that are being written, but the number of appraisers for appraising your home for the bank that exist out there have not increased by 27%. In fact, that has been a shrinking industry over the last decade. And so that means appraisers are overwhelmed with the orders that they're getting and they're running behind. So it used to be that appraisers would take 5 to 7 days to get an appraisal back. We're seeing in some states right now that it's taking an appraiser 30 days to get out to a property. I can tell you the property we're buying up in Michigan, it's taking them 30 days to get out there to do the appraisal. So depending on the lender you're working with in the area that the property is in, if there's not enough appraisers out there, it could take longer to get that back. Now, another great question, how many homes should I view? That's such a good question. So it used to be that our MLS had a book instead of being online. And realtors would take their clients this book and they would flip through it together and they would look at the front photos of all these different homes, and it might have the address, the price, the beds, the bathrooms, and this book was printed every week. Well, now that things are online, there's so much more information that you can see when you're looking in online. We can see the street view. We can see the Google Map view. We can see where the home is on the map and how close it is to major roads or schools or railroad tracks. We can now see inside the home up to 36 pictures. On our listings, we're doing 3D walkthroughs or Matterport floor plans for you to be able to toggle through. We didn't even have those 5 years ago. That wasn't even an option. So as a buyer, you're able to get so much more information than you could even a year or two ago about a property, that by the time you're going to actually see the physical home, it's almost like a second showing. It's a validation of what you think you've already seen. And so you're verifying that the information that was put online is almost correct, not hoping that you're going to discover something new that you couldn't find online. And so I would say, how many homes should I view? I would say anywhere from, we've seen as little as the buyer walks into the first property that they see, they love it and they write the offer on it, to I would say maybe 7 to 10 on the high end. And that's because we should be doing a good job of helping to weed those things out for you. And like we talked about earlier, if we're not finding the perfect property for you in 7 to 10 days or 7 to 10 homes, let's go back and revisit criteria, go back to the drawing board and see if we can help open up additional options for you. Now, is there a time of year that is best to buy? You know, I used to say that yes, there is definitely a best time to buy, but this year is an unprecedented year in so many ways. What I would say has probably been the most interesting part about this year, particularly in real estate, is that interest rates are so low that if they start ticking back up again, that's going to dictate your buying power far more than 1 or 2% or 5% off of the home value. Because here's a statistic for you to write down, and it's a great one. For every 1% in interest rate we go up, so let's say interest rates are at 3.5 or 4% and they go to 4.5 to 5%. Over the life of that loan, if you do a 30-year loan, you will have paid 10% more for your housing value if that interest rate goes up by 1% than you will have if the interest rate was lower. That's 10% difference in the buying power of your house. So even more than housing prices, I would say one of the biggest things to watch actually is interest rates, which people don't typically think about. We think about, oh, 1/4 point this way, 1/2 point that way, 1% that way. Yes, it does make a huge difference, especially if you're planning on staying in your property for 5 to 7 years or more, right? It's going to make a big difference for you on your buying power. So keep that in mind. The best time of year to purchase is really the time that works for you and your needs. Typically, we have more inventory to choose from in the summer, but I'll tell you in the winter, you have less to choose from, but oftentimes the sellers that are selling have real reasons and motivation for why they need to sell. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, let's see, we have 1 or 2 other questions. I'll take those and then we'll make sure we're using your time efficiently and wrapping for today. This is a great one, Jan. Thank you for asking. It says, can I put in offers on multiple homes at the same time? That's a great question. So the technical answer for you is yes, you can put in as many offers on properties at the same time as you want. But keep in mind that if a seller or multiple sellers accept your offers all at the same time because you've put them out there and haven't taken them back yet, then that means that you will have to make sure you're delivering money for the inspection periods on every single one of those. And if you're canceling contracts, you're going to lose that. And also your earnest money has to go and get deposited at the title company, which could be anywhere from 1 to 2% of the sales price of the home. Now, oftentimes, if we've done a good job negotiating for you, that's not going to put, that's not, that 1 to 2% of the house value won't be put in jeopardy, but it physically has to be deposited. So if that money is getting deposited and you have 4 offers out on houses or 2 offers out on houses, just make sure you have enough cash reserves that you're okay having that much money be deposited all at once. And it could take 10 to 14 days to get that money back. So if you're comfortable with that, putting offers out on multiple properties is not a big deal. We typically will encourage you, though, to put offers on maybe 1 or 2 at a time and not get too bogged down with just making offers on everything you're seeing, because it can get confusing, and it can be a lot of legwork for you to keep track of where all your money is and making sure you're getting it back. So 1 to 2 would probably be the recommendation that I would do. The other thing, though, that I want you to consider is, let's say you have one home that you love and it has multiple offers on it. And let's say maybe you weren't as comfortable going up as high as the other offers were, but you were close. You know, what we're finding is really effective is we could put a backup contract in place. It means you have a lot less money out of pocket. And if for some reason that home buyer falls through, it's not a guarantee, but if for some reason they fall through, you automatically get to go under contract on the property with a lot less money at risk than if you had just not put the backup contract in and waited to see if it comes back on the market. So that's something to consider. That might be a great option, and you can ask your agent about if there's a home that you really fall in love with but don't get it. So that's something for you to consider as well. Well, I have to tell you, this has been great getting to have all of these great questions asked, and hopefully it's been informative and helpful for you. And I just want to let you know we're here to be a resource and to advocate for you and to find amazing properties for you. And if there's anything we can do, please reach out to us for a personal consultation, and we'll be happy to walk through your individual needs and timing to make sure that you're getting exceptional service and an amazing home. Have a great day, and if there's anything else that you can think of, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll talk soon.